Today on 5 Minutes with an RCDD podcast, we talk to Blake from Low Voltage Nation. You want to hear his message, so let's get with this.
Don't hang up that phone. We've found what you're looking for. Welcome to the 5 Minutes with RCDD podcast. Well, seeing how we're pulling Category 6A, the most powerful twisted pair in the world, you gotta ask yourself this one question. Did I pull 295 or 300 feet? Well, do you feel lucky? Do you, punk? In this podcast, you'll learn the differences between a 66 and 110 punch tool, the proper way to install a support cable, along with terminating and testing parameters. What exactly does RCDD stand for? Really can't do diddly? Or just some guy that's just sitting around in a chair making podcasts. So join us as we talk about the ever-changing world of telecommunications, from ISP to OSP, from copper to fiber, design to installation. Now send the new guy to the truck for a bucket of dial tone and the cable stretchers, while you listen to an informative program on telecommunications. Here's your host, Chuck Bowser, RCDD.
So today I have a very special guest, Blake Urmos from Low Voltage Nation, and he's got some really cool things going on with this stuff. And I had to get him on the show. I was already been interviewed by him, but I came across him on LinkedIn. He has a very Peter McKinnon-esque type of vibe and feel, and I just like it. I really, really like what he's doing. So welcome to the show, Blake.
Thank you, Chuck. I appreciate it, man. I am like way behind Peter McKinnon, but I watch his stuff constantly, and I absolutely just everything that he does, I try to like emulate and then add my own twist to it. Right. But yeah, I appreciate you having me on, man. This is awesome. Thank you. My
pleasure. And it's funny because now that we're paying attention, I start to see you in more and more circles. Like for the people who might be listening to this, we were on a live LinkedIn thing today with brother labeling machines, and we were both on the chat box.
That was fun, man. That was my first time I've been on a LinkedIn live, and that was really cool. That what's his name, Todd Morse?
Yes,
my brother.
Yes. BS with Todd.
He's a character, man. I love that guy. He's awesome.
I like him because he's unfiltered. He is what he is.
That is correct.
Yes. So tell us about Low Voltage Nation. How did it get started, and what's your intent?
Yeah, so with LVN, we can just say LVN for short. It's kind of hard to say Low Voltage Nation, but I started it about a year and a half ago. So I was in the field doing like structured cabling, access control, surveillance stuff, working for a company out of Middle Tennessee. So I live in Nashville. So I've been here about 7 years, and I've been doing low voltage work on and off, and I really wanted to learn more and step up my game. So it's kind of like scratching my own itch where I'm like, what are other people doing? Because I see these pictures and I've seen good infrastructure before, like in the field, but unfortunately, typically you come across stuff that's not so good. That's like more so the case where it's the spaghetti, mess, cables everywhere. And I'm like, holy smokes, what do I do with this stuff? So I got on Instagram and I was like, man, there's some good folks out here. And it's a great community. It's all on Instagram too. That's where it really all started. And so I started interviewing people on a podcast, so the Low Voltage Nation podcast. I just got my phone, downloaded the Anchor app, and that goes to Spotify and Apple and Google. And I just started interviewing people on the podcast while they're in the field, like in their bucket truck or just hanging out in like their shop. I just wanted to learn more about structured cabling, access control stuff, and just kind of up my game. That's really the genesis of Low Voltage Nation. But it's just materialize in this big community where we have a Slack workspace, we have consultants. There's just this whole thing that's been built all around the podcast. And the real message and the big thing we try to promote is community over competition, healthy and positive interaction, and just help other people. That's like the number one criteria to be a Low Voltage Nation ambassador, is to help other people. And I'm sure you can get on board with that maybe that's why we connect, because you want to mentor people, and that's right. That's really the bedrock of Low Voltage Nation, is the mentorship and helping other people.
I've said over and over again in many podcasts and face-to-face with people, is we are not good at training new people as an industry as a whole. And that sucks because at some point in time, all of us old cable dogs are going to retire.
They can be gone. Yeah.
And we're going to leave you guys stranded with what's left.
Yeah.
And that's why, I first started coming across your stuff on LinkedIn I know this is going to sound bad, but it's called cable porn. It's when people post pictures of their jobs. And I used to take pictures, but my version of cable porn, because I'm an old guy, was I had to take a picture and then go to that little store in the middle of the parking lot and have my film developed, then have that put in a 3 notebook, and then I would show that to people. Now it's so much easier. People just literally, they take their phones and they go click, 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 and post on Instagram, and it's out there,
Yeah. Adjust the lighting and the exposure, make it look nice and everything. Get the detail all looking good. Yeah. People love that stuff on Instagram.
They do. And people are proud of their work. And I like those kinds of installers. It's the ones that want to hide the work that I'm kind of suspect about.
But that's the thing. We're kind of a self-governing community, because we'll come in after the person, take a picture, then post that on Instagram. Be like, this is how you don't do it. And I think you call them cable fail photos is what you kind of go around the internet looking for those. And
I do, because when I teach classes, I run a PowerPoint that's about 15 minutes long before class, and it's just a collection of cable fails. And I call it "Don't be this technician."
Don't be this guy. Yeah.
And there's lots of them on there, but I like the ones that you do, because even you and I mentioned before, being a former QA guy, I can always find something wrong with every job, but because those guys are posting those and they're willing to say, hey, they put it out there for critique, that tells me they're a good person. They want to learn. That just shows a lot about somebody. I mean, it absolutely does.
It takes some guts too, because you'll get torn up on the internet. If you do one little thing wrong, they're going to zoom into that picture and they're going to find it. They're going to circle it.
On that third cable on the patch panel on the port on the left, you didn't label it. Oh man!
Exactly. Little piece of copper showing, but it's good. We're looking out after each other. But you got to have tough skin. No matter how positive we try to be, you got to have tough skin in this industry.
You do, and that's been this industry ever since I got it from day one. Because we love to pick on each other, and I used to tell people if I'm picking on you, it means I like you.
Yeah, well, that's good.
If I'm cordial to you, there's no chance. We're not going to be friends. We're not going to hang out.
Yeah.
One of the other things I noticed about your website when I was surfing it a few days ago is you have this ambassador program. Mm-hmm. And I got to admit, I filled out the stuff and sent it to you. I haven't seen anything come back yet.
Wait, how did you get to it? I thought I took it down. Did you get the link somehow? I don't know. But anyway, so I'll
actually I did a Google search on LVN ambassador program, and it pulled that page up.
Oh, okay. So I got you. But anyway, yeah. So I'll follow up on that. But let me tell you about the ambassador program. So, it's really, and the reason I took it down is because it's an anchor point for the meetups. So we started hosting these meetups where we do structured cabling stuff. We built a 14U rack. That was our first meetup in Nashville, and it was fun. We had ambassadors fly in. We rented out a conference room downtown. It was a lot of fun. I had some people come in that didn't know anything, and they got to learn and do some crimping and terminating. But after that, COVID hit, so we had to cancel our second meetup in Atlanta. But what the ambassadors really do is they promote, obviously promote Low Voltage Nation. They serve as anchor points for the meetups. They mark themselves as ambassadors on LinkedIn. But the most important thing is to help other people. So like I said, to be an ambassador, you have to be willing to share your knowledge and help people in a healthy and positive way. So, but I'll follow up on the ambassador program and see if your name's in there.
I thought maybe I didn't qualify. I thought maybe I wasn't good enough. So I was like, yeah, I thought I was in. I thought, as soon as he saw my name, I'd get a, hey, not a problem. We got you processed. And cricket.
We'll get you in there. Sorry about
that. Not a problem. And, that's what really makes this industry so good is when you find those people who are willing to share that information. Because I was telling somebody just the other day, there's two sides to that. Not only are you bringing up that person, make them better, but in going through that information yourself, it makes you better as well, because it reinforces that knowledge in you, and it forces you to have an open mind, because there are some times where, just because that's the way it's always been done doesn't mean it's the right way.
Right.
And that's why I really, really like what you got, because it's a group of peers. There's not necessarily anybody as a direct report of somebody else. It's a peer-to-peer network, kind of like using, ICT terminology there, right?
Yeah.
And there's a lot of value in it because as a QA inspector, when you go in to do a job, there's always that wall that's built up by the installer because they think, well, he's just here just to find something wrong. Well, when I was a QA inspector, yes, I would find something wrong because that was my job, but I use it as an educational experience, not as you did that wrong. You did that wrong. I always start out with, hey, you did this really good. You did that really good. I really like the way you did this. We might have to do some training on that. Yeah. Now, let's talk about some things that we need to have improved.
Yeah, I like right? That's a good approach. I like that.
So always, because what that does, it removes that brick, that wall, brick by brick by brick by brick, and makes them more open to your message. Because it's always about that. So you said you're not as in the industry as long as I have. I've got way too many years of experience. I'm almost ashamed to say how many years of experience I have. I actually, it's kind of funny side note here. I was down at a nursery down in Spring Hill, Florida, buying some moringa trees, and I got talking to the guy, and the guy mentioned he was a low voltage guy, and I go, really? Who do you work for? And he told me who he worked for. I said, I know the majority of the companies on the Eastern Seaboard because I teach them. And he named the company. I said, oh, yeah, I know them really well. And he goes, yeah. He goes, after 36 years, I retired. I said, I'm at 38 and I'm still going.
You'll never stop.
I'll never stop. I'll never stop. If I stop doing this, I will never stop mentoring until the day I die.
Exactly. Yeah, that's the natural progression, it seems like. Right. And, you can't just sit still. Who wants to do that?
No. So another question I want to hit you up with is because you're closer to the beginning of your career in low voltage than I am, because to me it's so long ago. I very vaguely remember some of the stuff I did when I was a young technician. But what do you see as is the biggest hurdle for somebody coming into the ICT industry?
Yeah, and it really goes back to like the mentorship and the training is getting the tools you need to be successful. Like when I first started, and like you said, I'm pretty new. I've been in and out of low voltage for about a decade, but still, I'm just now getting into like the real heavy duty stuff, looking at some RCDD training, like looking at all these different things. So the biggest barrier to entry that I see is just knowing what tools. Like I had no idea even like what types of snips or crimps to get. Right. So I feel that's a pretty big pain point for a lot of technicians and knowing like which path to take.
I think it's a pain point, not in cost, because a pair of snips is $10, $15. Right, but here's the thing. Ask 4 different people, which is the best snips. You're going to get 5 different answers.
Yeah. You're going to get Klein. You're going to get Nipix. You're going to get, I don't use snips. Those are for people that do arts and crafts. Exactly.
I did a Facebook post, snips or scissors, and I got some direct messages. Some people were pretty, they questioned my my ICT card. I'm like, why are you putting that post up there? I said, it's to spur conversation. That's all it's for.
I did the same thing in the Facebook group yesterday, and we have like 100 comments, and it's crazy.
Yes, absolutely. So what do you think is the hottest trend right now in the ICT industry?
Man, I would say fiber optic cable, especially in these top tier cities. If you look around in Nashville, Atlanta, New York, LA, they're just tearing the streets up with fiber optic cable to do 5G. Verizon's just making a mess out of everything. So it's in a way, it's a challenge because it's a totally new skill set. Fiber splicing is a pretty hot skill set. And to learn it and to get the tools, get all the fiber splicing equipment, to get the bucket truck and all this, like it's the cost of entry is pretty high. And so in the learning curve, and you got to have a lot of patience too with it and kind of understand a whole different type of technology and protocol. So I see that's going to be a big challenge, but also a big opportunity for a lot of new technicians.
Here's what I see. And again, this is just looking back with way too many years of experience. Yes, fibers is definitely there, because when I first got into this industry, everybody wanted to be that fiber tech. Everybody wanted to be what I affectionately call the fiber princess. The fiber princess is the person that just because they know how to do fiber, they think they're too good to pull cable anymore. They are the fiber person, right? But ever since I got into this industry from day one, people always say copper is going to die. Copper is going away. Well, guess what? Here we are almost 4 decades later, still installing copper. It's still out there.
Still here.
And when you're talking about, for inside plant applications, it's still, I think, the best. And when you start looking at Internet of Things, you start looking at single pair Ethernet, industrial Ethernet, it's going to gain even more strength. Power over Ethernet, copper cabling is going to be around. So I think if someone, because as an instructor, I've come across people who are deathly afraid of fiber. And don't get me wrong, you need to give fiber its due respect, because it can be dangerous when you terminate fiber. You don't take care of the sharps correctly, and you can get injured, stuff like that. But there are some people, if you just want to be a copper technician, you will make a good life in this industry.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Yep.
and when it comes to communications, I think of communications like the automotive industry, right? So when you say out to somebody in the automotive industry, they're going to ask you, well, are you a mechanic? Or are you the guy who designs the cars? Or are you the guy down at the local filling station who puts gas in my car? Because all of them work in the automotive industry, right?
Exactly.
So
yeah.
there's room for everybody in this industry.
Yeah.
And so, and another thing I want to follow up, and I know this is not on the pre-list of questions I sent over to you. I like catching people off guard, but
yeah, I love it. Yeah.
but we did kind of touch base on this the last time you and I talked. I really think this industry is challenged, and we need to get more young people in this industry. And when I say young people, I mean people right out of high school. I mean, who you're looking for that career. What do you think we can do to entice those kind of people to get into this industry?
Yeah, so I think we're ripe for that, because the academia is getting a lot of flack because they're not producing results, and now we have this whole pandemic thing where in-person classes are like kind of going in a different direction to a certain extent. So it's a really good opportunity for us to get these kids and say, hey, like, just go in the field and start learning and getting paid for it instead of going into $100,000 in debt. You know, by the time 4 years have passed, you could be making $100,000 a year instead of going into debt. So we could use, a lot of recent events with academia kind of getting some, microscopes put on them in this pandemic to really push that agenda, so to speak. I mean, it's not something that, I want to like push, but it's actually something I totally agree with you that we need to get some more young kids in here for sure.
And I'll take the blame for that as the boomer generation, because we were always raised that you weren't nothing until you got a college education. And we were sold a bill of goods. And then it's so oversaturated right now that having a college degree, to me, as a hiring supervisor or hiring person within a company, the only thing that really tells me is you can make a goal, you can achieve that goal. That's what it tells me.
Yeah.
Mike Rose says it's best, because he talks about, here you have these people coming out of college with $50,000, $75,000, $100,000 in student debt. And you can graduate from school, go into an apprenticeship program like the Joint Apprenticeship Training Program for the electrical unions and stuff like that. And literally within, 2-4 years, you can be making $100,000 with no student debt. And you got people coming out of college with huge amounts of college debt, just making bare minimum wage just to get by. And it's just, I think it was a bill of goods, and it was just, it's our fault. I admit it. It's the boomer's fault. And I'm at the very edge of a boomer because I was born in 64. So I'm right at the edge of that, but it was definitely our fault. And I think, if you go to a Big C conference, you walk around, you'll see it. You'll see a bunch of old people. And, I don't even tell people now that I have a college education anymore. I don't even, it used to be one of those things you had to put on your resume, but now when I talk to students and stuff, I don't even mention it. Because I don't want
interesting.
That. Yeah, I don't want that stereotype. Oh, he's a college person.
Wow.
Well, I didn't go to college.
I've never heard someone say that. That's crazy.
Oh, I get it because I didn't start college until late 30s. All right, and the reason I went to college is because I was working for a very large national contractor at the time, and the only positions that were above me that were open, you had to have a college degree, and I came from the field. So there was that glass ceiling that I had to shatter. And the only way I could shatter it was with that college education.
Gotcha.
But now, like I said, I feel more comfortable with technicians, more comfortable with installers and project foremen and project managers than I do with I can hang out with the CEOs. I can talk with the CEOs. I can talk return on investment, all that fun stuff, and spin their heads as well too. But I'm an old guy. I'm an old cable dog. I'd be the first to admit it. There's nothing wrong with that. And it's funny because our industry, people always use cabling as a launch platform to get to something else.
Yeah.
right? Like
Exactly. Yeah.
they want to learn cable, so they become a PBX technician. They
Yep.
want to learn cable so they can go put in fire alarms or security systems. But now if you're and you talked about this with the guy that you just interviewed, I saw that just a couple of days ago. You probably did it way before that. The guy from Atlanta, the Southeast Pixie director. I can't think of his name. Renfro.
Lee. Yeah. He's
Yes,
from,
from
Fitzpatrick, Georgia. Yeah. Lee
yeah.
Renfro.
He's from
Yep.
down there where my wife lives. Actually, she recognized the accent.
Yeah.
Yeah,
He's got
yeah.
that accent. Yeah.
He does.
He's a
But
cool guy though.
it really kind of, we need to get people focused on, you don't need a college education.
Yeah.
You can make a lot of money just doing cabling, and it gives you a lot of pathways. So, you can stay in operations. I know some fiber guys. My brother is one of these because he's got a security clearance. He makes over $100,000 easily without hitting overtime.
Yeah.
And he's always on overtime, always on overtime.
Right.
And so you can make a really good living with no little debt. And that's why, I really think we need to entice more people into this. And
yeah, for sure. Yep.
And here's the challenge. And maybe you can help us old boomers with this, right? How do we as boomers talk to these kids? And I say kids, I mean men and women right out of high school. How do we talk to them in a way to say that they look at it and say, that looks like a career path I want to take?
Yeah, I think you're doing it already. I mean, you're one of the few, I guess, boomers that's really embraced a lot of this, social media, doing content creation. You know who Peter McKinnon is. I mean, so I think you're already speaking to that audience in a way. So the more you can get in front of people on these platforms, and that's how it scales. That's how you reach a huge audience, and that's all we're doing. We're on our phones all day watching stuff like this. So I think you're on the right path, to be honest.
Yeah, people think I'm doing this for the audience, and I'm not. I'm doing it so if I can just make the change in one person's life. If I can get one person, because I got in this career by happenstance. I wasn't like when I graduated from high school, I was like, dude, I want to pull cable. That sounds like fun. I fell into it because my ex-wife's friend from college, brother, worked for a cable company, and they needed somebody, and I needed a job. I kind of fell into it.
Yeah.
And to be honest, the first 10 years in the industry, I wasn't excited about being a cable puller. I really wasn't.
Yeah.
But now when I start kind of looking back, it's been a good career, and it's finding that excitement. So if I can make the impact on one person's life, it's not about an audience to me. If I get an audience, great, because I want to be able to get that message amplified so people can hear it.
That's how you amplify. You got to market yourself.
Absolutely.
Like, I want to make an impact. Like, that's what I want to do. And I'm also, a lot of people don't know this, but I'm working a spiritual program. And a lot of the reasons why I created Low Voltage Nation is because of that spiritual program. And I'm obligated to help other people. Right. It makes me feel good. It's just giving back. That's all we're doing and making an impact.
I got to admit, I've been stalking you the last couple of days.
Yeah. I mean, I'm out there. I put it all out there, man.
You do.
And
I've been stalking the last couple of days. I'm like, the more I look at you, the more I see myself 20 years ago. Yeah. I just wish that I had been like you earlier in my career, because I think people can look at what you're doing and launch their careers faster and get further along than I did. I mean, like I said, I was in Coast for many, many years. Mm-hmm. So let's see, what else have we talked about, Blake, that you want, what part of your message out there that I haven't asked you about that you want to get out there so everybody can hear it?
Well, like I said, we do a lot of marketing. We want to get the meetups back up and running. And that goes back to the ambassador program. We're always looking for ambassadors to help spread the message, but we did take a little step back for a minute just because of the meetups and everything. So that's coming down the pipeline. I do want to kind of plug, or not really plug, but just talk about the course that we're putting together. And it's basically just, tools like this. These are the tools that you need to start out in the industry. And that also goes back to what we're talking about, getting people in the industry that are young. So here is a tool, our course, to tell you the tools that you need to be successful. So we have all these people that are in Low Voltage Nation. We have 100 people that are on the gold membership. We have thousands of people in in our Facebook group, and we all come together and we figure out what the best way is to do stuff and the tools and the education path that you need to take in order to be successful. So a lot of cool things coming down the pipeline right now. It's a lot of work. I do have a part-time job to pay the other half of the bills, but I love doing this. Like, this is like what I want to do all day, like hang out with people like you, Chuck, and just like do podcasts and create content. So
yeah, that's my end goal is at some point, if ever possible, is to do this full time. That's my goal at some point, because that way I can do it anywhere at any time.
Exactly.
But it's funny you mentioned the tool thing, because I have two very distinct opinions when it comes to tools. And I don't know if you saw my LinkedIn post today. I did a LinkedIn post today on pet peeves. What's your biggest pet peeves? And I listed my top 3. My number 1 was borrowing my tools.
Oh yeah, that's huge. I don't think there's a worse one than that. Now that I think about it,
not leaving full string, staying on your cell phone all day long, disappearing. I could go on and on and on. but the number 1 is borrowing tools. And now you mentioned the barrier to entry coming in, because when most people come to this industry, again, I don't think they come to this. It's not like a police officer or a doctor. It's not a career that you dream about, right? So when you first, I think most people fall in the industry by happenstance, like I did.
Yeah.
So what they got to do is they got to spend a certain period of time before they can make that decision whether or not they want to stay in the industry and invest in the industry. And when I say invest, I mean tools and knowledge. Mm-hmm. And so that process for some people is 2 weeks, some people it's 6 months, some people it's even longer.
Yep.
And then you really got but there are some basics though, like we mentioned, the snips, the electrical tape, like you did your video on just the other day.
Just tape, yeah.
But I think a good company will provide you with the basic hand tools. Now they may do a payroll deduction to help you pay for that, but I think the better companies will outfit you better, because the better you are to do your job, the more quality you're going to do.
Yeah. I feel like it's all over the map though. Like it depends on location, and it's just some companies are just like, they want the whole shebang. They want their work truck, they want the tools, they want everything, sort of like what they want, all that.
Yeah.
And so it's all across the board.
It definitely is, because it depends on whether they're a large company or a small company. It depends on the bean counters in the accounting department, how the closer they're counting those beans. And you're right, I've seen like that. I've seen all over the place. All right, Blake, I appreciate your time today, and you always have an open spot to come on. If you ever have a message you want to put out there, you know how to get a hold of me. Just let us know, and we appreciate everything you're doing for this industry, because it's one thing when it's the old guy telling people you need to do this, you need to do that, but I think it's different when it's a peer saying it.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's interesting because, today is the RCDD training. We sent a couple guys in California to start getting their RCDD. I was invited to go do that, and I kind of regret not taking it. That would have added a little more credibility to be on the 5 Minutes with an RCDD podcast, but I am actually going to start studying for it next year. It is on my roadmap to get that done. And you and I talked about how I'm like scared to take tests, I have all this like experience and knowledge or whatever, but I just don't want to take the test, but I think it's time.
The only advice I have for you, and you probably know I'm going with this already. The only advice I have to you about your certification is don't procrastinate.
Yeah. That's your biggest challenge. It's everyone's biggest challenge.
Absolutely.
It's too many distractions. There's so much stuff going on right now, but I'm all about taking action, but test taking, I don't know. You'll find
your career will shift into second gear, or for you, maybe even third gear.
Yeah.
And it'll go a lot faster. And there's a lot of great programs out there. The Big C has a lot of great products like the study cards and stuff like that. There's study groups out there. If you and a couple of people, that's what we used to do, is we'd get together as a group. There's also some, and here's the biggest challenge, especially for people like you and I who are nervous test takers. Because when I took my RCE test, I had already been out of the industry out of school for many, many years. I had to get back into test taking mode.
Yeah.
And the way that they liked wording the exam questions is you got to rewire your brain again to think to take tests, because you've gotten out of that practice thing. So there's companies out there that will, like NetCBT and stuff like that has practice exams that'll get you in that mode of thinking to get through the exam and get you past that hurdle.
Yeah. Lots of test taking, practicing, and studying. Yeah, there's a way to do it, but I like the hands-on stuff. That's where I shine.
You and me both. And you know, I read a stat somewhere a couple months back that majority of people in the construction industry, and we fall under the construction industry, are tactile learners.
Yeah.
Meaning they learn once they put their hands on things. That's why when I saw that you were doing the build out of that rack for that meetup, I was like, why didn't I think of that?
Yeah. I love it.
Right? Because that's how most people learn, is through tactile.
Yep,
So,
for sure.
so we definitely appreciate what you do for this industry, and you have an open invitation to come back anytime.
Cool. Thanks, Chuck. I appreciate it, man.
Take care, Blake.
Yeah. See you.
All right.
That's it for this episode of today's podcast. We hope you were able to learn something. Make sure to subscribe so you don't miss out on future content. Also, leave a rating so we can help even more people learn about telecommunications. Until next time, be safe.